How are custom visuals helping Northbrook Church impact lives for the kingdom? We'll talk about it today. Hey ministry leader, welcome. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Church Visuals if you would, so you never miss an episode. We also have more podcasts on our YouTube channel and training platform at churchvisuals.com. Podcasts like Unboxing Your Series Media with Trevor Miller, the Kids Church Visuals Show with Shake Mozart, also free and affordable courses, webinars, articles, and more. Be sure to check it out. All right, big thanks to Outreach for sponsoring this season of shows. If you would, check out their website at outreach.com for all your printing needs. All right, today we are looking at Northbrook Church in Richfield, Wisconsin. It's a growing church. We work with them to create sermon series graphics, sermon bumpers, videos for other ministries of their church, and more. I want us to learn from this church some ways they are crafting their custom visuals for impact in their community. Let's jump in. Hey guys, I want to let you know about a great new resource from our friends at Outreach. The new invitation station provides your church with an easy way to encourage and equip your members to invite their friends and neighbors to church. The stations include a sleek black metal sign holder stand, an eye-catching 2x3 sign with messages like invite a friend or be the church, and 4 acrylic card holders that you can adhere to the sign and fill with invitation cards, all for only $147. Check them out today at outreach.com/invitation stations. That's outreach.com/invitation stations. Hey guys, this week I welcome to the couch the man, the myth, the legend, Steve Dirks. What's up, dude?
How's it going?
All right, thanks for being here. So this week we had an opportunity to interview Tara Tess. She is the worship arts and communications lead at Northbrook Church in Wisconsin. Now you work with her and her team directly month in and month out, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, Tara and Sue, we have to work with them consistently on a month-to-month basis, and we've been partnering with them for years, as long as I've been with you. So it's been great.
So what are some of the things that you guys work through in those meetings each month? What are some things that we've crafted for them? What does that look like on a kind of a weekly or monthly basis with you?
Yeah, I love how Tara is super detailed. She and her team meet consistently to talk about vision and what they're doing with every single project that they do. So by the time that we meet, there's already a vision cast from her team, from her leadership of what she wants. And that's actually usually always been like, there's been multiple people that have spoken into that vision. So our meetings usually start with her directing what they want, what their vision, what their goal is, and what she loves about our team and what we love to do with her is provide just another set of eyes to look at a project. And so we've done some lyric videos, for example, where she's had an idea at first that's come in that's been phenomenal. But then we've had a couple ideas of how we could tweak it to maybe change a couple things, or a bumper video where she's wanted to go one direction and we've suggested maybe adding some imaging here, and she's really appreciated that. So there's been this unity of her team working together and then coming alongside us and us being able to offer an idea and a perspective shift that maybe is taken or maybe not. And like the goal of all this is to accomplish a project that Tara and her team feels like is a success and communicates what the values and vision of Northbrook is. So that's the goal.
So in working with folks like Tara at churches all over the country, what's some of the joys that you see when they or feel when they see some of the impact in their community?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the first thing we love hearing is how has it actually impacted real people on the ground. And Tara's been great about sharing about, Easter experiences or Christmas experiences where the branding carried over and just had a huge impact on the church. That's great. Hearing life change stories is huge. But beyond that too, like sometimes we're not going to always hear that, but just hearing that a church is happy where we've landed has been a huge thing. And so we partnered with some churches recently where we did some designs that were out of the box thinking, and just hearing that they were really excited about what they got. They're excited about the creativity that we brought to those projects. That's been really fulfilling and life-giving for us.
Yeah. So we wanted you to hear the creative process between us and Northbrook and what we kind of go through, what Tara thinks, what we think. So here's our conversation with Tara Tess. Oh, this is going to be a fun one today. Got Steve-O in the house. Steve-O, what's going on, buddy?
What's up? Nothing much.
And Miss Tara Tess. I always get confused. Tara or Tara? It's Tara.
You are right about Tara. I sometimes get called Tara. I answered the both of those. Also, I get called Tess. So there you go. But Tara it is.
There you go. Well, you have been our dear friend for quite some time, and we love working with you and Northbrook Church. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your role there at the church, and maybe give us some context of the church for folks who don't know about you guys.
Sure, absolutely. Northbrook, we're, in Richfield, Wisconsin. We have a congregation of about 3,000 people. So we're in a northern suburb of Milwaukee, non-denominational church. And actually, my family and I started coming to Northbrook in 2001. We were kind of church shopping. And at the time I was actually teaching, and I taught vocal music, went back and got my master's degree in instructional technology, and library media. And during that time of my teaching career of 36 years, I started volunteering here at Northbrook. And then in 2009, joined part-time and in the worship ministry. And then I retired from teaching and had the perfect opening. God's like, shut this, open this. And then in 2020, started my current position here as the director of worship arts and communication.
And so I think, if I'm not mistaken, you guys found us maybe before you came on staff. And then you kind of took on the role of kind of working with us directly, probably during COVID or right around there.
Right.
Is that right? Or how do you remember our origin story together?
Yes. So in 2009, I came on 15 hours part-time. And what ended up happening when I was working in the worship ministry, we had a full-time, one of our pastors was able to do some media. And then he left his position and we were left. It was in 2018 that we actually brought you guys on because we wanted quality media, but we could not afford a full-time video, post-production, everything going on, full-time staff. And what options were out there? And we ended up finding you guys at a conference when we were in Atlanta.
Okay. And Steve, why don't you kind of jump in here and kind of speak to this, because you're our project manager, and so you work directly with the churches on the custom side, kind of building that relationship, working with them day by day, and kind of that creative process back and forth. Why don't you kind of dip in here and kind of talk about you guys' relationship and how you've worked with Northbrook?
Yeah, when Tara, I think we had previously worked with Dean potentially a little bit. And so when I came on staff here, Dean and I had some conversations, but then you took over. And so I remember that first year we spent a lot of time just connecting longer term about projects, looking out farther range, and also doing some in-depth discussion about projects. And, that's just part of the process of when you come on to our team and you decide to use a custom media team like us, some people may want to get to know who they're working with and who they're partnering with. And that was part of the process of getting to know each other, figuring out what your vision was, Tara, for where you were going with Northbrook and how do we come alongside and support that. And that's morphed into continuing to meet, continuing to share each other's life. I know about what's going on with your husband and your family and where things are at and the trips you guys are taking, but then also about my family, probably maybe more than you want to. Maybe there's some stories that you're like, that's TMI, but we know about each other, and we also know how to serve each other. We know how to serve you well, hopefully, and that's our goal. And then you also know that there's people behind the graphics and stuff that are being created that love and care for Northbrook. And that's our hope, is that if you want to go on a more in-depth partnership journey with us in that way, we'd love to do that.
Mm-hmm. And, I've loved how, when we started in 2020, it was like you guys had a lot of grace as I, was jumping into that position. And what I liked is we had some in-house, people to work, but you brought in that piece of the profession. Like you have the video production, you have the vision of that. We had this, you had this. And what I loved is we were able to talk about our vision, because we want Northbrook to be Northbrook, and you'd listen to us. And then I loved is like, I'd have this vision, and then you'd be like, well, we could try this too. And I'm like, okay, let's do that. And, I've watched that morph and the trust now that we have. Like, I like to go like this last one that we just did. I have nothing going on up here, Steve. So like, what do you think? Because you still know the fabric of what we present and what visual media means. And I have loved working with that relationship. And by the way, I do love the potty training story.
We are definitely in that stage right
now. But you know what? I'm glad that you guys bring that up, is because you can work with a company far off, and it can feel very distant. And we're trying to do something different in the space, in that we are in the trenches, in the dirt, figuring it out together with ministry leaders on the ground like you, Tara, and the Northbrook team. And we feel like we're family. We feel like we're part of you guys' staff. We feel like we know what's going on with you guys, even on a personal level. And so it's fun to do that. It's fun to do ministry with friends and to know that we're in this together, reaching people for the gospel and seeing salvation. And we love hearing the stories of salvation and discipleship coming from your church and everything. So we really love it.
I mean, it's just like you're on staff with us. That's how it feels. That we have that same mission, and if anybody's looking for something like this, you guys are totally different than other things that are out there.
All right, so let's dig into the creative process a little bit. I especially want you two to I want to take a dive into the process, peel back the curtain a little bit into what it's like planning, what it's like creatively, and just maybe how far out and what that process looks like. So maybe start here, Tara. How far in advance, and this is mainly sermon series planning, although we've done some other things for you guys as well, but mainly sermon series planning, how far out are you guys?
Right. So currently, right now, we are through January 2025. So we have the big picture of where we're going to be through January 2025.
I love, I got to say. I love it.
There we go. Make your life easier. I'm not to be a last minuter, depending on.
I'm just saying, I love hearing when people are far ahead.
Yeah. And then, so since we have that bigger umbrella there, then we can dive into the details of some of the series, that we have coming up.
So yeah, Steve, walk that out. So now that you know the planning, what is the process of graphics, video? Kind of walk that out for me.
Yeah. So before I dive into necessarily when we come in, I think there's one thing that I'd love to highlight, Tara, that I think potentially churches could take advantage of. What I love about how you lead your team is there seems to be multiple opportunities to open up for feedback internally. Before I ever see a project, your team has gone through it themselves. So I want to say, I think you guys do like quarterly meetings. Is that right? Where you guys will talk about what's up for the next quarter or two kind of thing.
Sure. So a little bit about that. So I have a small creative team that meets weekly, and we put everything up in Basecamp. And not only do we talk about the previous week, but we talk about the upcoming week. And I also have just some time to look at 1 week out, 2 weeks out, just for things, that we have that, because as we all know, it keeps coming around every
every week. Sunday comes around.
Then I have 4 offsite creative meetings a year where I add representation, 11 people from every area of the ministry. And that's when we will take deeper dives into sermon series, or case in point, when I talk with my lead pastor, the purpose of those meetings is to give him what he needs to come out of that meeting. What will help him the most? And so those agendas can change a little bit. Like we just had one in May, and it was all about, this one was looking into that fall series and a little into January, but also digging into the trenches of Hebrews. And so those meetings also give that chance of, what's at the front of your head? What are we thinking about with that? I'll do different activities of creative. Like one time I brought in magazines and we were looking at different titles in magazines. We went axe throwing in February and then came back into our group. It's like you have to do things and have different elements to bring that creativity out. I also prep my offsite creative team ahead of time. What do I need them to do ahead of time to make this? Anytime you're going to meet face to face, it has got to be value added. People's time is so precious when we're there. And then I'm very intentional about showing what that meeting did and where everybody played a part, that this idea then led to this. And we all know it's never the first idea. It's this one that talks to this, and it comes out, but it's like, it creates such a team environment and people are part of that process. And so I kind of have that. Sometimes I have more details for you, Steve. Sometimes I have, I don't have a lot. And quite honestly, in the beginning, I was nervous to let go of some of that control. Like I really was. And it was like, oh my gosh, what if it, and that's been a process for me.
Right.
But that's also because of our relationship. And I think that is absolutely integral when I look at your company. So out of that, those meetings, that's where we're able to really land on where we are, and to give you a little bit of time to give us some things back.
Yeah, and I've always heard, ever since I started working with you, you tell me about those meetings, and Tara, it's just incredible. Like, just as you talked about how you set up for those, how you lead those, I don't think that's something that a lot of churches do. And so I just want to highlight that's part of the mix of the ingredient of why things work. Like, to me, why we just love partnering with you, and you would come to the top of like, this is the flow of how it probably should be done. You know what I mean? Because by the time you come to me, you have talked internally with your team, from your creative team to the pastor is going to teach the series. Like, there's been some dialogue about it. So when I get a document, which that was one thing that I think maybe hasn't been said publicly, but I think you were actually one of the first, our partnership was one of the first things back in 2020 that made me realize that Google Docs and doing stuff up ahead and front before we start designing and talking about stuff in the document could actually help us find the bullseye quicker. And so that's something that you and I have always done, is kick off with a Google Doc where you'll send me what your team has crafted, and then we'll go into a phase of taking what you guys, Northbrook, your leadership has said, and just putting it through the pipeline of we're using this type of method of producing these videos. How can we accomplish that bullseye? And then creating some sort of creative brief to show you, like, hey, here's how we're thinking we would pull this video together. Here's how we thinking we would, footage we'd use or assets we'll use. And that allows your team then, just before we even produce the video, say, yeah, that's the vision that we had, or no, that's not the vision we had. We need to change that. Or, oh, we hadn't thought about that.
Right.
I'd like to see that,
Right.
but that's created those opportunities where I think, like you said, is it gives, we're outside, we kind of up until that point are outside looking in. You guys have been stewing on it for a long time.
Right.
We can kind of dip in and go, our creative team could say, oh, I wonder if they would think about doing something like this. Like, I wonder if that would be, would work in the flow. And that's the spot, though, where, like I said, like you've highlighted, though, is we want to be fully Northbrook. And so there have been some things that maybe we would pitch that you guys would be like, yeah, that's not going to work for us. And we definitely don't want to do something that doesn't work. And so we want to figure out, like, what actually will communicate the mission, the vision, the heartbeat behind the series excellently for you guys in a way that's completely and wholly like yours.
Maybe that's a good thing to bring up again, in that we, neither one of us on both sides, the creative process is not hitting a home run out of the park. Like you said, it's usually not always the first idea. But we as a team are going to try our best to learn your culture and produce stuff that really meshes with your culture. We're not going to get that right every time, even after working together for years,
right.
but we're certainly going to try and learn more and more as we go. So how has that gone with you? Have we been able to, or how has the teams working together been able to learn your culture and really kind of communicate graphically and with video kind of your brand, or kind of stay in that flow?
How have you guys been successful at doing that with us?
Yeah, or have you felt like it's successful? Like we're creating this culture together on both sides, us and you, that really stays within your brand.
Yes. What I love is you guys listen. Okay. You listen, you hear, and then you stretch us. You stretch me to see more. I mean, that's why you guys are those professionals. You have hit the mark more and more on what we're creating. And sometimes I've watched something and I'm like, oh my gosh, like the video that we did for Easter that came back. And it was like, wow, like if I'm getting goosebumps over something that I've been part of the creative process, I'm very experiential. And we want to create environments where our people are experiencing the Holy Spirit. They're seeing things in different way. We're pointing them to Jesus. This isn't about, the next best thing that we throw up on the screens. It's about how are we communicating that? And I love that there's no, I don't ever have to worry, I really don't like that. I don't have to worry about hurting anybody's feelings or this didn't work. It's like, well, this worked, this didn't work. Oh, I really liked that. Like, the communication has just been pretty much, now I would call it exhilarating. Like, I look forward to it, and we've morphed through these series. And it has, I'm very, very pleased with that.
So what practically, you guys, we put together a retainer contract.
Yes.
And so there's a set number, within a 6 or 12 month range, about how many graphics you're going to need, about how many videos you're going to need. And there's some play in that if something needs to adjust. But practically speaking, you guys are ordering graphics from us for your sermons and bumper videos, and then some additional promotional event type promotional videos and things like that, right? Maybe kind of and Steve, speaking here, maybe give me a sense of, if I'm a church, if I'm a ministry leader listening to this, okay, what can I use custom media for? What should I be outsourcing? You want to speak to that some?
Yeah. So Tara, I think you guys actually have a designer on team now. So I think when we first started, there was maybe a little bit of an influx and we were doing some more design, but I think we shifted. And that's the one thing I would say is, every church has a stage or a chapter that you're in. And I think Northbrook right now is in the chapter where you guys are usually dictating the design direction from that to us. I think we've done a couple where we might have stepped in and helped you with your team on that. But I think a lot of times you guys are initiating the design, which is great. And what I love about what you guys have done is when you guys do design, you've thought about executing that into your room even. So I'll get mock-ups of what it will look like in your room, because you guys are bringing design elements from your series into the room, which
Mm-hmm.
helps us then to kind of visualize, okay, so here's where we're kind of setting the tone in the room. How do we then execute video to that? So I think that would just be one thing to say is like, we have some graphics on retainer, but I think we've actually in recent months and last year have shifted that more to video just because of what Northbrook needs at this time. And so that's what I would say for any churches that are watching this. Like when we say retainer, that sounds probably really scary. It's really a partnership. And so like we're saying, hey, a partnership of this amount of content. But if we get 6 months in and you hire a designer because you're now at the point where you need designs in 2 hours, well, maybe that's not possible for my team to execute when we're serving other churches as well. And you need someone who could just turn something around on a dime. Then maybe you do have a designer, but then you send stuff to us for video and we do other promotional videos. So there's a way, I think, to continue the partnership and it kind of to evolve and change based on what you need at that time. And I think, Tara, we were even talking the other day on our call about what the next year might look and might take a different, another chapter where we move more away from design, but move a little more heavy into some other video elements as well.
Yeah, because we've been doing, now he's been doing longer sermon series. So, and this is what I love about the ebb and flow of creativity. So with these longer sermon series, we've been doing a few bumpers,
Yes, yeah, we do a couple.
Any of us get bored watching the same thing. I'm not going to watch the same bumper for 12 weeks, but we've done them a little bit where we've done just sound effects or we've done voiceovers or we changed the music. Like that's been phenomenal.
Absolutely.
But then it's like, what's our next thing to keep? Because we want things to look produced professionally, and you guys do that. So we talked about announcements or the podcast. So it's like, it's always at flow. What's that thing? And you guys are such great resources for us. I don't want to figure it all out, nor do I have the capacity, and I don't have to. It's like teamwork, and you want what's best for us, and you work with me through that. And I've been very, very pleased with that. Yeah, retainer is a word that's like, oh my gosh, I have no.
Yeah, that's fair. I shouldn't have used that word.
Well, it's funny. I hate any of the words because I think sometimes we like the words kind of connote like a contract, and really it's just there to say like, hey, this is so we're all on the same page. But it's the words that we've used. But I want churches to hear our heart. Like with you, it's like we want to complete the work of ministry that we've said, hey, this amount would be, and so we're going to work together to figure out what that looks like. And so if that starts off, other churches I've worked with, they do need design and video and they want the whole process. And I think they could take some great notes from your process and that like, okay, if you're not going to do the design internally, you could still have offsite creative meetings where you guys look through magazines or, production magazines for churches or image searches and say like, what is the style and look and feel that we like for a series like this, and then let our team help you design from there. But you guys have often, in recent months and year, have done a lot of that work. And so when it comes to us, there's a direction that started. So then now it's us coming alongside and saying, how can we bring to life this graphic, this artwork, and help tell the story of what this graphic and what this series is going to communicate to people when they come into your space.
And I think too, the only reason we've been able to do that is because we've been able to have more time for planning. If you don't have that time, you can't do your graphics because you wouldn't do them justice,
Absolutely.
But your graphics have been phenomenal when we have used them.
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm glad that you guys caught me on that because it is a difference. It is our heart to come alongside, to be in the trenches with, to be on mission with, that we're not, everybody that comes on the team are dedicated believers. Why? Because you have to have the Holy Spirit in you if we're trying to communicate the gospel. It's kind of a prerequisite. So it's our heart to be alongside you, and we only do ministry work, by the way. So, all right. So we were talking that you guys don't use this whole season of the podcast has a theme, and that theme is how do we move from ready-made media to custom media? And so you guys have almost gone like full bore into custom, right? You rarely use. There may be occasion where you might pull something here and there, but you're mainly creating everything that you do from scratch,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the reason that we have really done that is, when you think of the creative element and you think of how people are engaged and they see what we are communicating in sermon series, it's like it's us. It is. I've looked at other ready-made, and I will say you guys have excellent ready-made and great examples, but some of the other stuff, it doesn't speak Northbrook. The language would be a little bit different. It's like, no, we don't speak like that. That doesn't look like us. Like we do have, and it's not that I feel like, oh, this is the only way Northbrook is. No. I will not live in that. As a matter of fact, I live in Ephesians 3:20-21 because we have a creative God and he's empowering us to find this. So when I looked at the ready-made video, it's like, it still costs money. Okay. But over here, why do you want that? It's our branding. It's us telling our stories, and it is money that is well spent. We are such a visual, anything on our screen. We have one of our values here is everything speaks. Everything, down to a paint chip, down to this, everything that we produce, it speaks something. And so we want custom media that speaks what we want people to hear. And then we can control the narrative. We want to control the narrative. As Pastor Mike, as he gets, he writes in his journal and the Holy Spirit's guiding him on what ideas. And he's like, I can't go out and do a search for media, sermon bumper on Hebrews, and that's going to match with what we're going after. So that's why we have made the shift and the investment into it.
Yeah. So you mentioned the investment. Why is it worth it? Like you have multiple options there. You could bring on multiple staff members, a whole team, but or you could do both. You could do ready-made and custom, and pull from both, which you do occasionally. But so let me just ask that again, point blank. Why is it worth the investment to use custom and create from scratch? You mentioned the narrative, which is great, but money-wise, financially, why does it make sense?
Mm-hmm. Well, anything that we put, first of all, I have got strong buy-in from our team. Like everyone is absolutely 100% in to have quality visual media. And our people, we get feedback from what we put up there. We get the quality. We get how it speaks to them. You put a visual up there, it engages and it tells a story. And you only have how much time in front of people, right? How much time do we have when they're here at church or we put your things out on social media? It matters. And we prioritize that matter. We prioritize that here at Northbrook.
Right.
Yeah. Talk about some of that feedback, or maybe the revision process from your creative team or your internal. So if there's a back and forth, what does that feedback sound like? Is it mainly on the visual? Is it on the script? Is it on did we miss the mark? What does that back and forth look like?
So after you produce something, that kind of thing with my team, kind of that?
Yeah.
So then it sometimes comes back to a smaller group because we've seen the big, you guys send me your first thing back. We look at over. Actually, Steve, sometimes you and I talk about before we even give you the first stab, we kind of talk, and you've been very gracious with that. I'm extremely visual. And, but what we'll do is, we'll submit it. Steve sends it back. We look over it. I will either have my team of 2 or 4 look at it. I don't go after everyone. I have different people on my team that have different strengths for what it is. So I'll go for this one for this. Sometimes I've rubber stamped them. It's like that one's good to go. But we'll all just look at it through different eyes, because it's very important. Whatever we put up there, we want people to see themselves. Are we insulting anyone? Are we showing bias? I mean, not out of fear, but what are we producing? And then we'll give some feedback. Steve loves to hear that they hit it immediately, because his team loves to do that. And then I'll just send some feedback back to Steve. Here's this, and this. And then your team takes over and you send me the next one back.
And I think that feedback process is just the opposite of what I talked about, like you guys doing work beforehand and then coming to us. We're the fly on the wall now, coming into the project and like looking at what you guys have written up and thinking creatively outside. When it comes back through, it's the same thing. We've been in the project now for how many hours building, and you guys are taking what you guys had initially kind of spooled up, what we talked about, and now you're critically reviewing, because just like anything, someone who's been in a project for 5, 6, 7+ hours, right, might miss things. And so that's why it's important. It's a both and. You guys get to now look at it critically and go, yeah, that isn't playing out the way that maybe you think it is, like in our space, or that script looked good on paper, but it just isn't flowing the way that I want. And so it's that process back in reverse, where now we've been creating and we're submitting to you guys, and you guys are providing us critical feedback on the review side. And like Carl said, we always like to hit home runs, but that's not. I mean, even in baseball, they don't hit home runs every single time, right? You're good hitting a 300, and so. The more at bats we take, I think, just like in baseball, the analogy there, we're going to probably get closer to hitting a solid run every single time. But it's how do we get from whatever base we're on to making sure that it's a home run every single time is our goal.
And what I love is you never settle. Like, and I don't either. I don't like if there's something that it's just
Yeah.
You want to.
We got to get it right.
Yes, and you do, and I appreciate that. And it's not like, oh, we're done with the project. It's like, no, where are we and what do we need to do? And that is really important. And Carl, when you asked about why you pay for custom media, that's what you get. You get service also. You get care, and you can't get that from things that are ready made.
So I was going to mention that and embarrass Steve a little bit more, because that's one thing that we do a little different in that you don't necessarily go straight to the designer or video person. We can pull that person in if we need to. But having Steve there and a creative director there as your confidant, as your liaison between your church and the team, that consistency there to make sure that every single project is to your liking and really takes the care that it needs. So maybe kind of speak to that a little bit more in that, or do you like that? Would you prefer to go to a different designer, different video every time? Would you prefer to have one point of contact? Steve, you can mute here if you need to. We're going to pick on you.
Tara's like, I would like Steve voted off the island.
No, I am so thankful that I have one person to connect with to funnel my ideas through. You develop a relationship, you develop a trust. I don't know. I trust that Steve will find the one that's going to do what we need to done. I mean, Steve has even had to figure out sometimes what I have going on in my head, and I wouldn't want to do that with other people, but it is quality service. You talk about customer service, which we all know is lacking in so many areas. This is personalized service. It's reassuring for me. It's also a layer of my job. I have, as we know, in these positions that we're in, I have a lot of hats that I wear. I can't just Oh, go. I know. Oh, no, Steve's got that under control. We met last Friday. Steve's got Hebrews in the hopper. He knows some of the other things we're working on. So I would not want to be communicating with different people. I think that would be confusing and a little chaotic.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's one thing potentially, and it's hard maybe even tell us internally because you guys have a designer. How does that work for that designer? Like, do you funnel all the projects to that designer, or is someone? One thing I've noticed with some of our creatives, and as I thought back to even being in the church, realizing those creatives, I think oftentimes those creatives don't like meetings. They don't like going to, like, they don't want to. They just want to design. They want to sit there and take the brief, look at the brief and dream and design and do what they're supposed to, and then have, you know what I mean? Like, as I look back in my church time, I noticed that the guys who were the illustrators and stuff, they just want to sit in front of a computer all day and do that. They didn't want to like be in 6 meetings with the kids ministry talking about, they just want to know, what do you want me to design? Right. What do you, okay, you need VBS? Okay, VBS, here's some, you know? And so I think one thing I've just seen is I think, designers and graphic people and video people like clear direction, and they just want to design, and that's what they do well. They don't necessarily want to be a part of the creative process necessarily the whole way through. And so our process allows there to be every person's gift to be utilized at that point. So I'm much more of a relational type. I'm not necessarily the best person to go execute out the actual pixel mapping of whatever. I know what looks good based on being in a production world and understanding how some of that will play out, but that's not my gifting. I'm much more of a relational, take what you're wanting to do, communicate that to someone to do. And then our creative director is much more gifted at like, okay, that's what they want to do. Here's what they could use to create those assets. And then our designer of video is like, okay, that's what they want to create. Right. Okay, I can edit that together, put that script together, boom, boom, boom. And then we internally all review it and send it to you. So it's almost like we're kind of like digging into the process and being like, everyone gets to do their giftings, which is probably how in church world too, as I've thought back, like that could be some misfires I saw in the church staff that I worked at, where the designer was kind of like made to be, well, everyone can send them a project and they get to funnel through what to do. And that's where I think designers got tired, because they're like, well, I've got 20 requests to go meet with 20 different ministries right now, and I don't have any time to design the actual design that I'm supposed to do, you know? So I just wondered, like, with your team, with your designer, does it kind of function similarly where like maybe you guys have her a little bit behind like some people that are like, we're managing the intake of what we're doing as Northbrook and the vision we're going, and then we're having her execute it or him and then sending it out. I wondered like how that process worked for you guys internally.
Yeah. So Jenny is our graphics designer, and she comes to all of our meetings. She is on our creative team. And actually, she didn't start coming to our creative team until I came on in 2020.
Oh,
and
nice.
She just listens and hears and out of the conversations, I swear she's like magic. She brings what's in here, and not only just in my head, because we have a lot, but she'll sit in those, and then she'll like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And she will sit. She's never like insulted. Like if you don't like something she created, like it's like, I'll go, can you move that down? What if you move that there? Ooh, I don't like the color. Okay. Like she's like a team member with us. It's not like awesome. I have to go to her and go, oh, could you create this? Or I can also say to her, oh, nope, that's not in the mark. But the key is she's there listening, and she takes notes, and then she designs, and then it's amazing what she has been able, and she even she's shared that she just is enjoying her job more because she likes to be part of the creative on that team. Otherwise you're giving her, second, information from a conversation that you had. She gets to be there firsthand to hear it. So that's how we work it with her. And then she'll come show us the things. She'll come back and show me what came out of it, and then we kind of go from there.
Yeah, and then you take that to your pastor for final approval?
Yeah. So, and because our pastor, Mike, he is a stickler for fonts. I have learned that. So sometimes I will go through and I will look at something and I can go, yep. I'm very cognizant of when do I need to ask and when do I don't need to ask. He does not need to see everything. I think initially I was a little, like I need that. Now it's like when we're in all of those meetings and we're talking, it's like we look at the design and I'm like, okay, that looks good. And then we'll share that. But it's gotten into a smaller group of sharing. Who needs to see it? Who doesn't?
On a need-to-know basis.
Yeah. And we've gotten to know each other through that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that brings up a point, and Steve, you mentioned this of internal review. And we do that on our side too. When we're creating a video for you guys, it's made and then it goes back to our creative director. And there might be a round or two of internal revisions inside our team before we feel comfortable sending it to you. So there is multiple checkpoints in place, and then Steve as a stopgap to go, hang on, this is not. So there are multiple things in place to try to ensure that when we deliver to you, it's as close to a home run as possible. So, and I think you guys do the same internally too. And I think that's important, that like, don't just make something and just throw it. Like, spend some time with it, get some other opinions on it, and get some other eyeballs, and walk away for a second, come back and watch the full thing, things like that, because you might have missed something. And so if you can, after you render something, watch it to make sure that nothing happened in that render, things like that, to just kind of ensure that that's excellence, right? You're putting it forward in a great way. All right, let's kind of land on some life change stories. So everything that we've talked about leads up to, or the point is impact, right? It's not to, and you alluded to this, Tara, in that it's not just to entertain. It's not, we want it to be excellent, but the point is not entertainment and flash. The point is impact. The point is life change. So maybe give us some examples. And we know that visuals are not the thing saving people. It's the Holy Spirit. But maybe give us some examples of some series or some things that we've worked on together, or some visuals that you guys have done that have really made an impact at Northbrook.
So this was a hard question at first, but then what I really landed on is the series that have caused our people to really reflect on their own spiritual journey, their own journey of spiritual transformation. In the little steps, it's not these big monumental. How do we continue to grow to look more like Jesus? And then how do we create series where it's like, well, I can't do that. That's overwhelming. One in particular, actually, you guys did for us was One Step Closer.
Yep.
Okay. What I loved about this sermon series is it was called One Step Closer, Taking Next Steps Towards God. So that was one that just opened up, what do next steps look like? And they're small ones. It's not these big monumental stories that aren't attainable. Another one that I love that you guys did with us was True Stories. We did one that was the True Stories, the power of telling God's, and then you guys helped us with this visual and animating. This was the True Story.
Oh, yeah.
The power of telling yours. Okay, so how do we tell people's stories? What are multiple ways to do that? What I loved about this series, and this one morphed, we took that, and I'm just going to share a few with you. Do you mind?
Absolutely.
Please.
Absolutely.
So one of them here was from a gentleman, actually a woman that said, I joined my first ever life group. Big step for me. I deepened my faith with my brothers and sisters in Christ, thought I'd be nervous, but had overwhelming peace. I had another person that wrote, I usually start my day formulating my to-do list. I've been working on starting the day with asking the question, what would you have me do today, Lord? And with a prayer, I open my eyes and heart to see opportunities to serve. This was filled with stories of people. One that was like, I started reading my Bible.
That's
That
awesome.
is a great story. We had
Absolutely.
people in there that joined a ministry, wanted to serve. But what I liked about that sermon series, which is what I love about working with you, we did the true story, the power of telling God's. Then it became the true story, the power of telling yours, which was not a sermon series, but this graphic and design that you came up with that one, then became a vehicle for people to tell their stories that are practical, that are not overwhelming, that people can say, well, I want to take that next step. I can do that. And that is the power of the stories and the series that are helping our people grow, that they're focused on Jesus. And you're right, through the power of the Holy Spirit, we can do this. We do the best. And then we're like, okay, we've done our work, God. Now what are you going to do through that? And those sermon series have been transformational for our people.
Never gets old hearing the impact stories.
And then one other thing, Tara, this isn't as those are powerful, but this is something that I heard on the last call that I think maybe is a byproduct and has probably helped you personally, but being so far ahead and hopefully us taking a little bit of weight off of some, allowed you to, on an Easter weekend where you would have normally been in church and couldn't be there.
Yes.
I think it allowed you to worship from home in the setting that you were in and what you were going through. And then also a few months before that, you were on a vacation in Europe. And so I think one thing too is I've seen in you, there's more margin, I think, probably in your life than maybe some other churches are dealing with, because hopefully we're helping carry some weight there. And then you have a team around you that's carrying the day-to-day weight. And so you guys aren't, well, crap, I got to get this ready for Sunday. You guys are working long-term enough that when something happens personally in life or there's a vacation, it doesn't derail the whole entire flow. And so I think I've seen,
or you're not freaking out on vacation.
I'm not freaking out. I love that you said I'm going on vacation, I'm not available, and I don't think we talked for while you were out. I think it was I think we waited until you got back, and so there wasn't any need to to blow up a phone or blow up an email or try to get a hold. And so I think that's a story of maybe freedom in your life, your team's life, hopefully your staff's life, of helping do this has changed people in our church for sure, but it's also created more margin and space for us as a team to not have to carry every single piece on our own. We have someone there to help us carry pieces so that we can be farther ahead, be planned out, and be excellent at everything that we do.
Yeah, because there's always going to be things that are last minute. Let's face it. Right?
Absolutely.
So what doesn't have to be last minute? That's kind of the thing I work under. No. There's going to be some things, but isn't. And the other thing I really appreciated is when you were off, Steve, on your vacation. Carl, you guys helped us through our big Easter video. Easter is a huge time. And I did not even think twice about Steve handing me off to someone else and giving that product. And as a matter of fact, I know I emailed your team on that, because I was like, that is the quality of what you guys produce. And I did not have to worry at all. And you took over, and I loved that. And I don't want to have to worry about things that I don't need to worry about. And you're absolutely right. Your service provides that for me and allows me not only because we got to take care of ourselves.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
We can't serve from a place of emptiness. And we have to be honest about that. And
Yeah.
you
Well,
guys
we only let Steve have a vacation once every 7 years. So it kind of fell.
Yeah, come on, Carl. At Easter, we got him off.
At Easter. I mean, when he requested, it's big, So, no, just kidding.
Oh,
No longer. I blocked out 90 days from Easter.
I think it was a wedding, though. I don't know.
It was a wedding.
To change that, huh?
It was a wedding for the brother, so he gets one of those. He doesn't get any more. So,
yeah. All right, Tara. Let's end with this. We've talked all about it. Why do visuals matter when it comes to communicating the gospel?
Visuals matter because they tell a story. They give us another element to communicate what Christ wants from us. It gives us the ability to bring the scriptures to life. It brings another element for people to see something. We all learn differently. And we have to keep that open so that we can use that in powerful ways to communicate the message of Christ, to focus on Christ, to point people to Christ. And as I said, we serve a God who is so creative. Like, here in Wisconsin, I look at the spring. Like, how could we not? We would be remiss to not use visuals that help us with the scriptures, with music, with song, to bring that to life to people. And with the power of the Holy Spirit to do that has the power to change lives. And that's what God has called us to do.
Yeah.
Amen.
Well, we so appreciate your partnership, and it's a joy to do ministry with friends, and you guys are that.
Amen.
And so thank you for just your friendship and your partnership over the years. And it's been years, and we love it. And just thank you for it. And we love what you guys are doing there. You guys are on the ground week in, week out. You guys are seeing that life change happen, and it's really awesome to hear all about it. So thanks. Steve-O, any parting words?
Tara, I'm just grateful for you and our friendship. And so it's a joy to partner together. It's not a job. It's an opportunity to partner for the kingdom. So I love getting your emails because it reminds me of another opportunity we have to serve together and serve Jesus together. And so I would hope that every church that comes out of this, like, that would be my heart. Like, I'm not in this to just accomplish tasks. I really just want to serve people and come alongside. That's always been my heart as a production guy. And so in this role, that's my heart too, is to come alongside you as a church, help you communicate the gospel well in your context and what that needs to look like. And hopefully also create opportunity for your team to maybe feel some freedom and some weight lifted off of you. So if I can ever do that for anyone else who's watching this podcast,
Absolutely.
Feel free to hit me up. I will give you my cell really quickly, and you can become as close to as Tara and I are. You can call me up and ask for a meeting. We're happy and ready to do that. But yeah, Tara, I love serving with you and your team. I'm grateful for you, and I'm just thankful for how God's using you and how God has used you and how God's going to continue to use you in the months and year to come.
Mm-hmm. And boy, I sure would encourage anyone who is watching and thinking, "Oh, is this for us?" Or like you got to jump in somewhere. There is opportunity here, and this works. This works. It has worked for us, and I love the way we continue to evolve. And you have new ideas of this, and it is a true partnership.
Absolutely.
And I would encourage anyone who is watching to, take you up on that. And if at any time you guys ever, want anyone to reach out to Northbrook, how it works for us, I would be happy, because I am just so pleased with everything that we have done and what we're going to be doing in the future.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time. Really appreciate your time and the chance to hang out today.
Absolutely. I really enjoyed it. Thanks, you guys.
Hey, ministry leader, in addition to over 40,000 pieces of original content from Church Visuals, you can also purchase producer content a la carte. So just like Amazon Prime, you can filter our library with the included in Church Visuals Plus checkbox on the filter bar in the library. Original content and content from other great producers, all at churchvisuals.com.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube for more free training for your church or ministry. Here's your Church Visuals tip of the week. Using custom visuals allows you to carry your brand guide across all your media content. Here's what I mean. In Northbrook's case, they work with our team to make sure their brand is consistent across their worship services, promotional material, social media, and more. That's difficult with ready-made, not impossible, but it's gonna take you a lot more work to make sure that you look similar across the board. Custom visuals ensure that you have that consistent look and feel. So if you wanna reach the people that you wanna reach for Jesus, your visuals matter. I'll see you next week. Your Visuals Matter has been a podcast presentation of Church Visuals. Executive produced by Carl Barnhill, edited by AJ Schubert, title and show graphics by Angie Lomas. For more resources to help you visually communicate the gospel, visit churchvisuals.com.